And the next extreme demon I'll be remaking is Bloodbath. But I decided to remake a Bloodlust part as well later on. In the last voting pool I did to decide what would be the next extreme demon, Kyoki ended up winning it. And as soon as I started to remake it, it looks like this. Even though I liked how it was looking in general, it wasn't really similar to Kyoki, so I just decided to delete it. And since the second most voted one from the pool was Bloodbath, I just decided to remake it instead. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Alright, so let's just start making the gameplay, and for it, I was thinking about reproducing Bloodbath's ship drop, because I thought it would fit to this part of the level, I guess. So I just started making a kinda blocks corridor, and also I did some random club step monsters, and the ship part was basically done. After it, I decided to remake the UFO part of A Sonic Man, because I think this part is pretty iconic and it would fit to this level as well. So I just started placing a lot of gears and that was basically it. I guess the gameplay for this part is basically done and this is how it is looking like so far. Okay, so now it is decoration time, unfortunately, and I basically wanted to make a kind of bloodbath decoration, but revamped, if you get what I mean. As you can see, the bloodbath's dropship part has a really simple decoration, and I didn't expect anything other than that. It is a 1.9 level after all, so it isn't gonna be that hard to remake. The first thing I noticed about this part was that it uses a lot of these white blocks on the corner of pretty much every design and club step monster in this part. So I just decided to kinda replicate it using my style for it. I basically placed this square, made it red and kinda spammed it, and then put some bright glow and some black glow in it, just to give it a nice contrast, just like that. After it, I put some bricks under it, some lines, glow, and I decided to add some ground spikes in it as well. After doing it all, I ran out of ideas, and when I run out of ideas, it is always time to experiment, fail, and try again. First, I tried to make a kinda slopes gradient, but it got really repetitive, so I removed it. Then I decided to try to add some kinda red cracks in the middle of it, but it didn't really fit as well, as you can see here. So yeah, since I was really tired already, I decided to take a small break and see if I could come up with something good here in another hour. After taking a short break, I actually had some pretty cool ideas. First, I decided to change the structure from this block a little bit, making some slopey shapes in the middle of it and making it less repetitive overall. Then, I decided to add some slope details in the middle of it, some lines with some spikes on the tip of them in the left and right sides of the block, and for the last, I just added some kind of fences in the middle of it as well, because I thought it would fit it, in which, surprisingly, it actually did. And yeah, I was really happy with this design, and I would say that it is probably the best design I've done into this level so far. After finishing this block, I decided to make some spikes, and for it, I wanted to try something totally different from everything I've ever done before. I actually didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was sure about one thing. I didn't wanna just go and spam 100,000 spikes and leave it like that, as I always do. I tried to make a kinda different shape here using some lines, and then I tried to see how I could work with it. I tried a lot of things, added a lot of details and deleted a lot of them as well, but you won't believe what happens next. After 30 minutes of trying to work with it and come up with a different thing, in the end, I actually gave up on that and just spammed a lot of spikes again. At least this time I did some ground spikes on top of it, so it looks slightly different from my regular ones. Hopefully. Anyways, after it, I just copied and pasted this block 100 times because don't judge me, this happens in Bloodbath as well, okay? And after it, I decided to remake that Giga Chad Bloodbath Clubstep monster in this part. I was kinda worried at the beginning, I just didn't wanna go through the same struggle I went with ideas as I did with that block design, but for the joy of many, it was actually pretty simple to do. I just added those squares in the corners of it, made some spikes for his eyes, put some ground spikes around it, copied and pasted some of the details from the block designs into it, did some glow lasers on both of its sides, and for the last, I just put some slopes in his forehead and it was basically done. I managed to finish it in like 10 minutes and I think it looks pretty cool, so now I can safely say I am feeling good. Now I'll just make the other clubstep monsters that are still missing real quick. I will basically just copy and paste everything from the previous monster into it, but of course I will change some of its details and also I will put some of these blocks on their foreheads and it's done. We do be doing some forehead gaming here for sure. For the last, I will just put some designs similar to a Sonic's Man part here around this UFO portal, just for it to work as a kind of transition onto the next part. And yeah, all the designs from this part are done. Now it is time to make the ground spikes, and I wasn't really worried about it as well because as you can see, the ground spikes from this part are really simple to replicate. I just went and put a lot of ground spikes with some saws on top of them, and also I put some those kinda circular details on top of them as well and made some bright saws into them, and honestly I think it looks pretty cool. And since I didn't have any idea of what else to add here, I just decided to go and make the air deco from this part. As you can see here, in Bloodbath, this part has practically no air deco at all, except for these arrows here, so I had to come up with something new for this part. I decided to make some kind of brick walls behind the blocks in different colors, and then I just made some arrows in front of them just like that. Also, I did some air deco with those circular objects, inspired on the original part of the level. And then, I just made some random glow lasers in some random places of this part for literally no reason. And the air deco is finished. To finish this entire section off, I just put some T3 glow in it, and I decided to make a really low opacity background behind it all, just to give a little extra contrast to it. And after 3 hours, the first section was finally done. After it was time to decorate the second section of this part, and as you already know, it is the A Sonic Man inspired one. At the exact moment I was gonna start decorating it, I had a kinda genius idea. What if I deleted this entire gameplay and instead of remaking a Sonic's Man Bloodbath part, I remade a Bloodlust part? My mind literally exploded after it, and I decided to actually give it a try. So I simply deleted all the gameplay I had done for the next part and started to think about which Bloodlust part I wanted to remake here. I just went and rewatched Bloodlust like 3 times in a row, and then I decided I would remake 2 parts from this level, them being this one with these 2 gigantic things coming out from the ground and the ceiling, and also I would remake the last one as well because it looks simple to remake and I had some ideas for it. For the gameplay, I just did something very simple as you can see here, and I tried my best to make it the most similar to Bloodlust I could. And also, in the end of this section, I made the legendary upside down stride fly that made our beloved Noble Boy die at 98% of the level. And yeah, the gameplay is done. Now it was time to decorate it, and I couldn't be more excited for it. I basically made some extra large things in the middle of the level, and I just started spamming a lot of black details into it just like that. And I must say, it took me a really long time to get it done. I'm not even kidding. I basically spent around 3 hours just to fill up this entire thing with details. I will do a short time lapse so you can have an idea of how long it took me to do it. After 3 entire hours of sheer suffering, I finally managed to get it done, as you can see here. After it, I just placed it on the level, put some moves in it, and incorporated it into this part, and this is how it was looking like. After it, I just put some very subtle stars in the background, and the first Bloodlust inspired section was done. And for the last, I will just make a very short section inspired on the last Bloodlust part real quick. As you can see here, this part uses the infamous car style, in which is one of the hardest styles to execute well in this game, but I didn't care about it. I was willing to do it, no matter what. I decided to start it by making some block designs. I tried to make something similar to the last Bloodlust part here, obviously. So I just made a rectangle structure, added some bricks in it, and some square shaped details, and I did some aspects coming directly from my style, so it doesn't look like a Bloodlust copycat, you know. And yeah, surprisingly, I managed to get this block done pretty quickly, and I think it looks pretty cool. At least, I hope it does. After doing this block, I just copied and pasted its details to some other structures, and then I decided to make some diagonal pillars here, similar to those from the last part of Bloodlust. And to finish it off, I would just remake that iconic Bloodlust last club step monster here for the last stride fly of this part. And I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but the eyes of the last club step monster from Bloodlust are kinda weird. Like, the creator of this part literally put a black circle as his eyeball. It looks so out of place and even kinda funny to me, to be honest. Anyways, I will just make something similar here, and yeah, since this section is supposed to be really short, the block designs were already done. And the last thing I had to make here was the air deco. As you can see, the air deco from the original thing is really overdone. It's car style after all. So I'm gonna just go and spam a lot of random black and red things that I think are gonna fit into this part. First, I'll make this gigantic pentagram in the middle of everything, and then I'll make a lot of chains and red glow lasers just connecting to it, just like that. After it, I'm just gonna put some arrows and some other random red details, and the air deco is finished. Looking at it now, this section is looking kinda mid, to be honest, but since I don't know how to improve it, it is really short and I am very lazy to remake it all, I will just leave it like that. Even though it's mid, it does look like a decoration coming from Bloodlust, so it's fine, I guess. And to finish it all, I will just add the name of the members from my channel in random places of this part. Since I have over 30 members already, I will not be able to say their names out loud, but I will put them on the screen and you will be able to find some of them in this section. After a long journey and a failed attempt at remaking Kyoki, I actually managed to make a remake from Bloodbath and Bloodlust, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how this part is looking like. The next episode will probably be the last one from this series, and I will be remaking Limbo in it. It's already confirmed, there will be no pause for it. It has been a long journey, but everything that is good comes to an end, unfortunately. Even though I'm gonna be making another series just like this one when 2.2 comes out. But anyways, I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching and I will see you next time.